jiu-jitsu really gave me something to hold on to. It gave me something to work towards. It doesn't do that for everybody, but it definitely changed my life. We're talking about technique. He's like, today's specifically technique. And he sticks out his leg and he says, heel hook me. And so 8 black belts, right? Nobody could make him tap.
It needs to be talked about because it's not just you're going and eating this food and yeah, it's bad for you. Okay, yes, but it's deliberately designed to be bad for you, to disconnect you from your spirit. Each person that awakens to that, you can set them free.
I get this, heartfelt message of a father who is separated from his son, and his son is a brilliant kid and experiencing bullying in school. I did some private lessons with him, and immediately the bullying thing stopped.
Hello and welcome to the Harmonized Podcast, where we learn about the interconnectedness of the mind, body, and spirit. Today, we're joined by Professor Mark Padilla, who is our first repeat guest on the show. And this time we're going to be diving into his jiu-jitsu journey and earning his black belt, as well as Tom DeBlass. And then we're going to dive deeper into some jiu-jitsu stuff, as well as some yoga and some business and leadership skills. And if you get some value from this podcast, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and share this video to help us reach a larger audience. But without further ado, welcome, Professor Mark Padilla.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. Still sounds weird.
Hey, I bet. It's weird for me too. I'm used to calling you Coach Mark. Caught myself a couple of times. I was like, Coach, Professor.
Yeah. No, what's funny is my wife will call me Professor when we're at the gym, and I won't hear her. It's just like, it's not even registering in my ears yet.
Yeah. She's probably talking to Professor Spencer, right?
Yeah. And man, you spend so long, just working towards something. I never really thought about, that title, and it doesn't mean a whole lot to me, but I would be lying if I say it doesn't mean anything. It is awesome.
No, for sure. That's like the benchmark that we're all aiming for.
Right. Yeah.
So what was it like getting your black belt?
Oh man. Complete surprise, actually. We had this trip planned up to New Jersey. It was the Tom DeBlass Affiliation Summit. So it was the second one that they've had. So second annual affiliation summit, where Tom invites any of his affiliates to fly to Jersey and train at his academy. We trained there for 4 days. Didn't charge us a thing, and that kind of experience is invaluable to somebody like me and the other gym owners that went. So it was an amazing experience. And then to top it all off with a black belt from Tom DeBlass. Wow. That's the cherry on top, man.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And like you said, from Tom DeBlass, this isn't a nobody. This is a legend.
Yeah. He's world class, man. Yeah. World class. Still doing it. Still doing work. Still putting out, great students, great content, working for the community. One of my favorite, going back to white belt, since I was a white belt, one of my favorite jiu-jitsu athletes has always been Gary Tonin.
Really? He's
so excited. I mean, have you seen any of his matches?
Oh yeah.
Dude, some of Gary's matches are some of my favorite all time, and to get a black belt from the guy who gave Gary his black belt is mind-blowing,
Yeah.
I still can't believe it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So yeah, you were just going there expecting to train, and then just at the end of training, popped it out?
Yeah, we kind of went on a whim too. Like they had an initial date set, and something came up, and they kind of pushed the date back a little bit. And Professor Spencer and I jumped on it. We said, "Hey, you know what? Let's do it." We don't travel too much. We go to competitions here and there, but it looks like as the gym is growing, we're traveling a little bit more. So Jersey was always on our list. It was always on our list to go to Tom's school, to see how it runs, to learn from him. So that in itself, was a milestone.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's a leadership summit. These are all leaders of their own communities coming together to push each other and help each other grow. Yeah. That's super cool.
Which is why one of the reasons I guess I was so shocked, because I had conversations with some close friends, and, a lot of them were saying like, yeah, he's going to give you your black belt, he's going to give it to you. And I really wasn't worried about that, because first early days of the summit, I'm sitting around and there's like 12 black belts around me, you know, and some of these guys have been training for 14 years, 15 years, you know. Professor Spencer's been training for 18 years. I just felt like kind of dwarfed by all that experience, and I was really fine with not getting it. So I tried not to hype myself up too much. You know, that's not why I went.
Yeah, that way you weren't let down, you know?
Yeah. I tried not to build that expectations. If he thought I had to train more, then I would have absolutely trained more, you know? But Tom and I have gotten pretty close over the years. You know, we've been affiliates for at least 5 years, I think. And so I've spent, you know, years learning under this guy. The amount of like energy that he puts into his affiliation is amazing. You don't get that in other places, I'm sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it was definitely a surprise, but what did it feel like when you got that thing?
Oh man. So Professor Spencer got promoted first. He was due for his first degree. Okay. Which we knew that going up there. You know, we went up there with that expectation that he's got his time in, and Tom is always great about promotions, you know. So Professor Spencer had just gotten his first degree. And the day before, the 2 days prior in the summit, he had given away black belts. So like he striped up this guy with a third degree, I think. The next day he gave this guy a black belt who had been a brown belt for 6 or 7 years, you know. And so I definitely wasn't expecting it. And when he pulled out the black belt and called my name, man, I was beside myself, you know.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And it was all kind of just a dream after that. I couldn't believe it, you know.
Yeah.
And so now I'm at black, and now everything starts all over. You know? But I think Professor Spencer said that like everything's going to be a first now. You know, first role, first class, first, you know, everything's at black, because now I'm in a class of guys who have been black belts longer than I've been training. Yeah. You know, Tom's been a black belt longer than I've been doing jiu-jitsu. It's wild.
Yeah, there's levels of black belts.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So now I'm the white belt of black belts.
Yeah.
One of my students, a baby black belt is what she called it. So, I definitely feel like that. Some of these guys have you know been in the game for a very long time. So much knowledge.
No doubt. And some people might think, man, once you get your black belt, you're a black belt, right? But something about jiu-jitsu, the people you're training with, it's funny. You're always like trying to catch them, but you never really catch them because you're both improving at the same rate. So they're always going to be a little ahead of you. And it's this constant journey. And it's like, am I really improving? They're still beating my butt every single time. Yep. But then you get those new guys that come in, and then it's like, oh, okay, I am learning something.
And I think that's the beauty of it, is those ups and downs. You know, as long as you keep training, you're going to get better. You know, you can't show up every day or at least 3 times a week, you know, 2 times a week and not improve.
For sure.
And there's you know those like plateaus that we hit, you know, where we kind of just we know where we feel like we're not improving, but sometimes it's the really small things, you know, that are getting improvements on.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man, we got to hang out up in Jersey for a few days, and the level of training up there is definitely different.
How so?
Man, let's see. We got there on Sunday. And Tom has his Sunday open mat in the evening. So we flew in on Saturday. Sunday we drove out there, and it was jam-packed. You know, probably 12 black belts on the mat, which I've never
open mat.
Yeah. Now, granted, some of them are Tom's black belts, and then a lot of them were the affiliates that had come, because we had affiliates who came from, you know, we came from New Mexico. There was our affiliate from Colorado, New York. Like 3 gyms from Florida, Iowa, Ohio, South Carolina.
All over the country.
All over the place. Yeah. I mean, it was wild to see these guys, you know. Some of them, like I said, who had, they're in law enforcement. They're running gyms. They've been black belts for many years. And so that atmosphere was wild. You know, you talk about no rest rounds, man. And on top of Tom's students who are really good, his black belt Cam, who's world class. He's a world champion. I've never had a 150-pound man manhandle me like Cam has.
Wow.
Yeah. It's great. I've probably got 40, 50 pounds on it maybe, you know, and he was throwing me around.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that'll humble you real quick.
Yeah, which kind of set the tone. That's why I really wasn't expecting it. I'm looking around. It's like, oh my gosh, look at these guys. There's
Monsters.
Literal monsters out there. And I've been training 9 years. So, but I have put in the work. For the last 5 years, I've been training 6 to 7 days a week. I run the school. I'm always either teaching or drilling or training or thinking about it. So, if you put the work in, you'll get the results, definitely.
No doubt. And also something with the time, it's like, it's 9 years, but that doesn't tell you everything, because the time you're training within those 9 years is what makes the difference too. Like you said, you're training every day compared to some people that might be doing 2-3 days a week.
Right.
And that's going to put you literal years ahead of them in the long run.
Mm-hmm. I took very few breaks, and I was fortunate that I got to do it like that, because some people don't. Life happens, injuries happen, all kinds of stuff, work, family. There are things that get in the way of that very, very long progression. The Jiu-Jitsu black belt is probably one of the toughest to earn.
Oh, yeah.
So, I've
definitely
met
one of the most respected.
Yeah. Well, we're a little biased maybe, but
for sure.
No, it's definitely up there, as far as prestigious things to achieve. I don't think I've ever set that kind of goal and accomplished it in my life. So this is definitely the biggest achievement I've done so far.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I've been wanting to ask you this one for a while. How did we get associated with Tom DeBlass?
Oh man, it just kind of worked out. And we didn't talk about this last time, huh? Yeah. When we first opened up, I talked about how Spencer had a gym, Platinum, and that's where I first started training. So he hadn't affiliated in that year that he ran that gym, and he had always thought about affiliating maybe with One Jiu-Jitsu. They have an affiliation up there in Albuquerque, and he had known some people from there. I personally was leaning towards 10th Planet. I was a big Eddie Bravo fan, right? So when we got together, we kind of talked about it. But I had mentioned how influential Mondo was, Professor Mondo from Zen, in kind of, encouraging Spencer and supporting us when we got started. So it kind of wasn't even a question. Once I met Mondo and we went over to Zen, he told me, he's like, run your gym for a few months, get everything settled, and then I'll put you in touch with Tom. And I had called other people. I'd called One Jiu-Jitsu and I emailed them, and multiple calls, and never got a call back. So I was like, okay, well, this guy's saying that, Tom is there, he's available, he's ready. And the amount of attention that he gives to his affiliates, man, I'm telling you, you won't get that anywhere else.
Wow.
Yeah. The dues are extremely low as far as dues go for affiliations. And the fact that I can pick up my phone, message him, and he'll message me back. It might be the next day, but I never ever think that I'm not going to get a reply back, either one-on-one direct or in the group chat.
Wow. And
that group chat, man, that's where the magic happens.
Wow.
So we've got a group chat with about 75 affiliates, all gym owners, they're running gyms all over the world. And so if we have an issue or we have a question or even just need some ideas, you just throw your hat in there and you get it filled up right away with tons of good advice.
That's a heck of a network right there.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We were actually having that conversation today in the chat because, Tom's kind of saying, how busy he is and how much he still, gives to everybody. Like everybody, he's running Buddies Over Bullies. He's running his own school. He helps out with ADCC. He's doing one championship. So, I mean, there's tons of stuff. And even that group chat without Tom would be amazing.
No doubt.
Just having, the senior members of the affiliation like we do, it would be awesome. And then to have Tom, it just makes it unreal. Yeah, it's what a network of guys and men and women who are just, leading and kind of doing, we all have similar goals.
Yeah. How important is it to have that leader, though, as Tom?
Oh, man, he's something else, dude. He so much dedication and attention to detail. Those are the two big things I think I brought back on that as that aspect. is he is 1,000% dedicated to whatever he's doing. All of his available time goes into, these projects that he's running. And then he told us about your attention to detail. You have to, you have to pay attention to the little things in your academy, in your own life. You can't lead somebody if you can't lead yourself first.
Wow.
Right. So we have to first find that internal peace of mind and lead our own thoughts and our own actions. And then we can start to help lead other people.
That's powerful.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. And it's hard. It's very hard.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What else? What other characteristics of Tom makes him such a great leader?
Let's see, man. He has high expectations, very high expectations. We got to take his advanced class, his advanced no-gi class, and it was awesome. What he expects of his students, the attention to detail on the technique, right, is it has to be correct, and there's always room for improvement. So he's not easily impressed.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people will be like, oh, I won Naga or I did this. That's nothing in his eyes. He's always shooting for the top. And he's been around the best in the world in this field. So the expectations are extremely high.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's super cool to be a part of his affiliation and seeing how the affiliates here in the Southwest, how we help each other, like Zen, Grind, Zia. It's so cool to witness and be a part of, and I could thank him for that, and you guys as well, the gym owners. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and it's a special thing too. I think we're really fortunate to be in this area and to have that kind of network.
Yeah.
And it extends beyond the affiliation, but the affiliates are super tight. People like Professor Mondo, Professor Justin at Grind. I know that usually, because Tom's so busy, and we were, we came in after Zen and Grind. So usually if I have to reach out to someone, I have a question, I'll reach out to them first. I'll reach out to Justin, I'll reach out to Mondo. And then if it's something that I think we should take to the whole group or that we should talk to with Tom or get his advice, then we would do that. But there's this great network of people helping people,
And when you're talking about getting advice, is this more like on a technique or something that happens in the gym, how you're running the business? Or
mainly business stuff, but also technique,
Okay.
But I'd say we talk shop more than anything else.
Okay.
So, we talk about structure for classes, and we talk about issues that we're having inside the gym or how to motivate certain students and stuff like that. So a lot of, sharing experiences. And it's been really helpful. We heard some stories out there when we were up there, and you never know what's going to happen. You open this gym and you don't really, I don't think you have a full grasp of the type of hub that it is for the community.
Yeah.
Right. And then that entails a lot of issues that you might have to help with,
Sure.
And it could range from somebody being depressed, thoughts of suicide, to, relationships in the gym or, community involvement, police officers, stuff like that, We've had several, law enforcement officers who serve, and those guys risk their lives every day, so that it's you meet so many different people, and it's kind of something I want to touch on. Maybe we get a chance today, is the type of people that jiu-jitsu brings, but jiu-jitsu as a hub for the community is amazing. What it's been doing all across the country.
No doubt, and yeah, I can see it in our community as well, and the classes are growing, man. The mats have been packed lately.
Yeah.
The kids class and the adults.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been awesome. You can tell it's just a great environment. People just trying to better themselves and in there grinding, pushing each other.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. And that's the plan. That was always the plan. The first 5 years, especially the first 3 years, there was a lot of grinding, a lot of growing to do, a lot of learning, Now that our 6-year anniversary will be next month. And now I think we're a little bit more established. We've seen most of the things that are going to come our way as far as business owners go. And now, like we talked about in the last time, we're, It's just putting in that work of people development until you get to the pinnacle, right? We talked about 5 levels of leadership, which is something that I think about all the time, from John Maxwell, who's actually going to Albuquerque. I don't know if you follow John Maxwell. I had mentioned him last time, and there's going to be a convention of some sort in Albuquerque. John Maxwell's heading it. Tim Tebow's going to be there. Brian Urlacher.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Are you going to that?
I thought about it. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it, but it is something interesting because I've always loved Brian Urlacher. He's from New Mexico.
Yes, sir.
Right? Made it to the NFL. He gave us a phone call, I remember, when we were in high school, because our high school team, my senior year, was pretty good. We're getting ready for the playoffs, and we get a phone call from Brian Urlacher, just kind of encouraging us, stuff like that. So yeah, small town New Mexico guy like us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think going to the summit, I got a ton of material to work on. I'm going to chew on that for the rest of the year, and just kind of dissect it bit by bit. When you experience something like that, it's so hard to filter through. So it is going to take some time to really unpack and get the full benefit out of everything that happened out there.
For sure. For sure. Well, you wanted to talk about the people that jiu-jitsu brings in. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So I'm writing this book. I'm in the process of writing a book. And now that I got my black belt, hopefully it holds a little bit more weight. You know what I mean? I'm not a world champion, but I feel like I'm a very good teacher. And so I'm writing a book to help white belts.
Okay.
Specifically people who have tried jiu-jitsu. Maybe they took their trial and then they didn't sign up. Or maybe they trained for a month or two, they bought their gi and then they hung it up and it's still in their closet, or they sent it to Goodwill or something,
Yeah.
So primarily it's for people like that. But it's going to serve as a guide for anybody to go from white to blue. Everything that you need to know, that you need to think about, the things that I experienced in my 3 years as a white belt, as far as the things that I've seen in the 5 years being an instructor. And so hopefully people get a lot out of it. But my favorite part, I'm going to start it out with the 9 types of people that kind of come to jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
And so I love stuff like Carl Jung stuff, archetypes, right? So we can break down 9 jiu-jitsu archetypes, and it's really cool to see where you fit in and where you see yourself in these different types, because it may be multiple, right? So we mentioned a few going back to the last podcast. We mentioned a few types already just in our conversation. So you have the type I call the defender, right? So the defender is usually law enforcement, women and kids who are looking to defend themselves, right? And we see a lot of those people on the mat. You've seen already, we have a huge following of Border Patrol agents that train with us. We're always reaching out to local law enforcement. But yeah, so a lot of people will use that, use jiu-jitsu as a tool to kind of supplement either their job, or they're looking to gain some confidence and some self-defense aspect. So you see a lot of the defender, right? But then you see the gym rat is one of my favorites. They've worked out, they've done CrossFit, they've done all the exercises, and then maybe they're kind of getting bored with jiu-jitsu or with weightlifting, and they want to try something new. And I've always seen that type. They come in, they're in pretty good shape. They think their cardio is good. And then you get on the mat, and 2 minutes later, they're trying to catch their breath. They're calling for a timeout. They're like, hold on here.
It's a little different.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. The cardio is different,
for sure.
And the workouts, the muscle movement is different, what jiu-jitsu requires of you.
Full body.
Yeah. So that type, I think, some of them will just say, you know what, I'm just going to go back to lifting weights, because that was my safe zone. I didn't have anybody crushing me there, trying to catch my breath with somebody trying to strangle me. Sometimes it's a little too intense for the gym rat. But if they stick it through, they become very, very good blue belts, if they can stick it through, because they already have all the physical tools. They got the hardware, right? You just need to download that jiu-jitsu software like in the Matrix, and then, you're solid. You're a solid blue.
No doubt.
Mine was the recovery. The one that I kind of gravitate the most towards is recovery. We talked about that in the last time. You know, I had my DUI. I was living an unhealthy lifestyle. That was kind of like rock bottom for me. And jiu-jitsu really gave me something to hold on to. It gave me something to, you know, to work towards. And what it's done for me is probably, you know, it doesn't do that for everybody, but it definitely changed my life. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. So, you know, you see a lot of people, and those people, they might not talk about what brought them to the mat. They might not talk about why they're there or the things, you know, that they're struggling with. But they don't give up. You know, they don't quit easily. You know, they're very resilient, and they also turn into very good students.
Yeah, there's no doubt. For a lot of us, jiu-jitsu is therapy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're out there. It may not be directly battling your demons, but you're definitely exercising them and helping to suppress that stuff that builds up inside of you.
It's a great outlet, man. Really great outlet. You probably have a couple roles because I listed one as the role model. And that's something I really admire about you is that you train and your kid trains. You know, your son, you know, you're encouraging your son to train jiu-jitsu, but you're not just doing it from the sideline. You know, you strapped on a gi too, and you said, hey, let's do this together.
Heck yeah.
The role model is one of my favorite jiu-jitsu types. And those are ones that I love having in the gym, you know, because if a family is comfortable training at your gym, then you're doing something right.
That's for sure. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's hard, you know. Maybe another book I write is going to be for parents, how to help encourage your kids, because you'll see a lot of parents and they demand a lot, but you know, if you don't know what it's like on the mats, then it's very hard.
Yeah.
And it might be hard to understand.
For sure. Yeah, you know, and I think that comes from, I've seen or read or learned from somewhere, the best way to teach your kids is to lead by example. Because you can tell them one thing, but if you're doing another, they're going to see that and they're going to realize there's a disconnect and they're not going to follow through.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, that's definitely intentional there. So, but thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, our kids, you know, I've got five boys, and our kids don't really listen to what we say, but they're always going to remember what you do, you know? And so, you know, that's one thing I'm happy for, and I'm sure, you know, Luke is going to be happy for, is he's going to have those memories of my dad did train. He was out there. He was on the mats, you know, he was putting in the work. And that means a whole lot more than if you tell them, hey, you know, do push-ups or do this, or, you know, do jiu-jitsu, keep practicing. It means a lot when they're able to train together. And man, the bond and the experiences that you guys get, you know, you guys have a shared outlet, ways that you guys can communicate.
Absolutely. Yeah. After class, I'll ask him, did you get any subs today? Oh yeah, I almost got this one. I was trying to get a triangle from closed guard and he ended up passing me. We just had these conversations, and it's also helping his development too, because he's thinking through these positions. Oh, where did I mess up? Oh, okay, maybe I should try this next time. And sometimes we'll have those conversations and help him work out these pathways through the mind, because that's a lot of what jiu-jitsu is knowing where to go and when to apply the technique. I know you mentioned last time timing is one of the most important aspects of it. And how do you develop timing?
Yep.
Through your mind.
Yep.
And knowing when to engage that move and when to disengage, all that.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu is one of those awesome sports that you could think about it for a very long time after you're done doing it, right?
Yeah.
How many times have we been driving home and we just going through that roll in our head like, man, what happened to me there? Or, you know, where did I miss that, you know, that sub? Or how did that guy sweep me? And, you know, you're sitting back and you're just, you know, replaying it, which helps the learning process.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, very engaging.
Yeah, that I do love that about jiu-jitsu. Like you said, anytime, anywhere, you can tap back into that moment and analyze it.
Yep.
Break it down and improve your jiu-jitsu off the mat.
Yep, exactly. That's another type. So another type I have listed is the strategist.
Okay.
Right? And I think jiu-jitsu, a lot of strategists gravitate to jiu-jitsu because of that analytical aspect of it, right?
So the jiu-jitsu nerds.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The strategist probably has a shirt that says jiu-jitsu is human chess, you know? Yep. I know I've got one. Yep. And that's like, for that person, they don't want to overpower you. They want to outsmart you, right? They want to outthink you. and very much like chess, trying to get moves ahead. That's one of my things is every time I'm rolling with somebody, I'm creating that little thread in my head of this is how this person rolls. This guy likes this move. His main position is half guard or butterfly guard, right? Stay out of his triangle. And I'm making these little mental notes every time I'm rolling with you so that the next time I know I'm not going to fall in that trap.
That's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, the strategies, man. I think I fall into that one a little bit as well because definitely as a smaller guy, you got to have some strategy to take on these bigger dudes because strength ain't going to beat them.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So either speed or strategy or both, a little bit of both.
Yep. Yeah, I got to roll with the guy that got his black belt the day before me. He's from Miami, and he had gotten his blue belt from Minotauro Nogueira. So, he'd been in the game for a very long time, and he was 280 pounds.
Oh, boy.
That's
a load.
I'm very thankful to that guy because he rolled really nice with me. He could have smashed me.
Oh yeah.
But that's the other thing is that that the strategist loves is the different body types, right? How do I, if I'm a smaller guy, how do I train or roll against a bigger guy, maybe a taller guy, right? Somebody that's your size, and now you have to have all these different plans ready for I do this one with these guys, I handle wrestlers like this,
For sure.
So I like leg locking wrestlers.
They're like, what is this?
Yeah,
we don't
exactly.
do this.
Yeah, it's not in their game, it's about the rule set. And if you try to pin them, that's their game. Good luck trying to pin a wrestler.
Yeah.
But the leg locks is definitely where they're lacking. When a wrestler learns how to leg lock, man, we're in trouble.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm still working on my leg locks as well. I'd love to talk about that here in a bit, but
oh yeah. I have an interesting story if you want to hear it. It's still like blowing my mind. So at the summit, we got together with Tom every day before class. So his little kids class is going on. He sets aside an hour and a half or so with us to answer any questions, technical or about business, right? And we did that every day. And so on the last day, some guys had already left. There's probably like 8 or 9 of us. And we're sitting on the mat. We're talking about technique. He's like, today's specifically technique. And he sticks out his leg and he says, heel hook me to everybody. And so 8 black belts, right? Well, there was a couple. There was a purple belt and myself. Well, I was a black belt at the time too now. So anyways, probably like 8 black belts. And nobody could make him tap. And he just stuck his leg out and just let us heel hook him.
He let you lock it in.
Let us lock
Whatever
it in.
Position you wanted.
Let us crank it. None of us could tap him. Professor Spencer did get the closest, but still, like he didn't even flinch. And I'm, it's days later, and I'm just sitting there thinking, like, how did that happen? I'd never do that. But that's the levels to the black belt.
Yeah.
And then after that, he gave us tips on technique, kind of critiqued everybody's heel hook technique, and we talked about finishing the ankles, finishing the toe hold, stuff like that, which, like where you're at, blue and purple is where you're really diving into those subjects and really trying to understand them.
Yeah, for sure. And my previous gym where I first started, my first 2 or 3 years was only gi. So we didn't work any we worked the straight ankle, but that was it.
Yeah.
So when I moved here, it was like diving into a new ocean. Like everyone was snatching my legs. So the first thing I had to learn was not to give up my legs and to defend them. But now I want to start learning how to attack them, and I think that'll further improve my defense because I'll know what they're going for. So it'll make it easier for me to defend.
Absolutely. The more that you understand the mechanics of the sub, how to make it work, then your defense gets better because you know what to deny the person
for sure.
when they're looking for. And that's kind of some of the stuff that Tom was showing us and talking about, But there's so many variables, It takes a lot of experience to really get it locked down to where it's high percentage. And that's always what I'm looking for in my subs is, can I pull this up? Not just can I pull it off, but can I pull it off at a high percentage rate?
How would you rank the levels of leg locks from deadliest to least deadly?
Heel hook has to be up there, Heel hook's probably the best one. But people are getting so good at defending the heel that we have to get innovative of how we're attacking it now. And you're seeing that. You're seeing modifications to positions and modification in angles to make sure that you get that heel exposure and can actually finish the sub. So
heel hook's number one.
Yeah, heel hook's number one. And then after that, I think it's just preference, you know? Okay. The way that I rate my moves in jiu-jitsu, especially my submissions, is, like I mentioned, finishing rate. Does it finish at a high percentage? And risk. How much risk is involved with the submission?
That's huge.
So let's say I'm in top half guard and I attack the top leg for a knee bar, right? Well, I'm exposing my back in that instance, and that makes it a higher risk move than if I were to go for the toe hold in that position, right? Because I'm not giving up my position to go for the sub. And so that's how I rate my sub is, in this position, how will I be giving up my dominant position, right? If I'm not in a dominant position, then, the rates kind of change. But, the arm bar from mount, the way people traditionally do it, how are you doing it? You're giving up your position, right? Mm-hmm. You have to slide off a mount to attack that arm bar.
Yep.
And now, if your opponent is any good, they're going to stack that arm bar,
yep,
and they're going to pull their arm out, and they're going to pass your guard.
Yep.
So high risk,
high
right?
risk.
But the arm bar does finish at a high rate.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's your style, if you're willing to put in the time to make it work, then it can, you can work it. But in that same position, an Americana or an arm triangle would be lower risk, right? Now, Americana is probably going to finish at a low rate in the adults division, but that's where you get to balance your game for risk reward.
How about the mounted arm bar while staying on top? Now
you got it. Yeah. And that's one of the moves I love, figure out, okay, how do I risk less to get this same sub at a high percentage rate, right? And that mounted arm bar, if you're able to stay on top, now you've got the gem, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, back to leg locks. For me, first trying to learn them, where would you say I should start? I've got a general concept of the straight ankle, and I kind of know the heel hook mechanics, but I don't really know how to get into an attack or anything like that.
Yeah. The way I teach my leg locks is I first want my students to have a concrete understanding of the position before we start thinking about the submission. And I know that's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason, right? Mm-hmm. So before I can think about the arm bar for mount, I first have to maintain my mount and know how to get there.
That's a great point.
Right? So I roadmap my leg positions for my students, and it starts with straight ashi, right? So that's going to be your standard, where I like the basic leg positions, almost like the closed guard of leg positions, right? Your arm is straight in line with my body. I've got my outside leg heel on your hip, and I've got my inside knee pinching in between your legs to isolate that one leg, right? And I apologize if you guys don't understand what we're talking about, but some people can see it like that and some people can't, but I straight ashi and cross ashi are the two fundamental positions in my leg lock explanation, or in my curriculum. When the leg is straight, or I take that same leg, my legs don't change position, and I move the leg to the other side. I call that cross ashi. Okay. So straight ashi and cross ashi. From those two positions, you'll get 4 more positions, depending on what you do with your legs, right? So if the leg is straight in line with my body, and I put both of my feet to the outside, we're in double outside ashi. If I move both of my feet to the inside, it's a knee reap, right? Mm-hmm. Now, move that leg across your body and do the same thing with your feet. They go to the outside. Now it's no longer double outside ashi. I'm going to test you. What is it?
Honey hole?
Close. 50-50.
50-50.
Right? So my opponent's leg is here. Both of my feet are on the outside. That's double outside ashi. When I move it to the other side, now we're in that 50-50 position.
Tracking.
Exactly. So same thing. Leg is crossed. I bring my legs to the inside. It's no longer a knee reap. Now it's honey hole. Right?
Yeah.
And so that's how I simplify it. If you just focus on those 4 or those 6 basic positions, then you'll have a really good understanding of the leg lock game, how to navigate the positions, right? Just like if I'm in side control and I know how to bridge and shrimp into half guard, and then I know how to get from half guard into full guard, right? Same thing with the legs, where I'm in straight ashi. I know I can cross the leg, move my feet to the inside, and now I'm in honey hole.
Gotcha.
Right? So 6 basic positions. There are advanced positions, and there are positions that are still being cultivated. You know,
sure.
Backside 50-50, K guard. You know, a lot of these things where, I think those are a little bit more advanced. But for a blue belt, purple belt, you know, I'd want you to know those 6 basic positions.
Gotcha. So I guess the other problem I have is I'm so used to attacking the upper body, I never know when to engage the legs.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, when is a good time to go for a leg attack?
That is a really good question, actually. The best time would be when you have inside position. When you have inside position on their legs, you can attack the leg. Now, there are always exceptions to the rule, but the first drill that I have my students work all the time with legs is, you're sitting down in front of me, I've got your ankles, you've got mine, one of us has inside position, and then the other person pummels their legs in, and now they have inside position. Just like if I had double underhooks on you, and you would pummel your arms in, now you've got double underhooks. So it's the same concept with the legs. Whenever you have that inside position, you can attack a leg.
Got it.
So that means stuff like butterfly is a great place to do it, right? Anytime you can get a butterfly hook in, then you have inside position and you can start attacking the legs.
You're already half a step in the door.
Yep, exactly.
To the position of a leg lock.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So once you have that inside position, what's the next step? What are we trying to isolate a leg? And
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Once we've established inside position with our hooks, then we look to isolate a leg, right? And now we're going to choose one of those 6 basic positions to start our attack.
Got it.
Right? So let's say you end up in 50-50. Now you have to understand it's 50-50 for a reason. They have the same attacks that you have. So you know what to watch out for, right? In a position like honey hole, you would have more attacks than them, right? And they're looking primarily to escape. But yeah, once you've gotten your inside position and established your leg position, now you can look for the sub, right? And so our subs are straight ankle, heel hook, straight ankle, heel hook, toe hold, knee bar, calf crank. You know?
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
So you apply whatever submission is appropriate for that particular position, which is why honey hole is probably the best position to be in, because you can attack all of those subs. Where if I'm in straight ashi, I'm primarily probably going to be looking for an ankle lock, and I can make a heel hook work. But stuff like the knee bar, the calf crank, the toe hold are going to be a little bit harder.
Gotcha.
Right? But when I'm controlling in honey hole, now I've got access to everything. I can ankle lock you, heel hook you, toe hold, knee bar. I'll have to show you. It's awesome. You know?
Yeah.
Being in that position. The honey hole is I used to say it was the king of the leg positions until, you know, stuff like backside 50-50 started coming out. And now there's a whole game on the other side. You know, we talked about spherical jiu-jitsu last time, right? Yeah. So it's not just here. Now they're over here. They're still attacking my legs.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome stuff.
Cool. Yeah, I think I need to go into class with the objective of getting some leg locks in class. I saw a post by John Danaher. He was saying to rapidly improve your improvement, or to rapidly improve, you must go in with an objective to practice every time. Instead of just going in there and seeing what happens, you go in and I'm going to work on this move from this position and this move from this position. And every time you get there in that class, you're working on that technique. I need to do that more.
Yeah. I've heard that quote from John, and I'm in the same boat. I think that I could do that a little bit more, because I kind of just go in and just kind of see what happens.
Go with the flow.
I've seen those guys who come in and they say, today I'm going to hit kimuras. And they sub 15 people, because kimuras are everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
So there's definitely a benefit to going in with that. And for my competitors, you know, I talk a lot about your A game, right? So when we're on the mat and we're an open mat, we're trying new stuff. We're, you know, we're working on some of the stuff we may have drilled throughout the week. But when I go to competition, I should have a rock solid A game already lined out. And I know that if this happens, I'm going to do this. And if this happens, I'm going to do that. And if you go in
system,
yeah, especially in the beginning stages, white, blue, purple, you have to have that roadmap planned out because you don't have enough experience to go with the flow yet.
Yeah.
Once you get to brown and black, now you've got tools from everywhere, and you can kind of say, okay, I know if he puts me here, I do this. If we're in this position, I do here as opposed to this. But again, going back to the strategist, you're just building that battle plan.
Yeah. Gotcha. Did we go through all the archetypes?
We didn't. There's a few more. Let's see. Who else do we got? We mentioned the strategist. There's the seeker.
Seeker.
The seeker is looking for community more than, competing or, learning technique or getting a black belt. They're looking for that community, right? We talked about jiu-jitsu as a community hub.
Yeah.
So you see those people, they come in and they're the very talkative ones. They're making friends, you're making plans afterwards and stuff like that. So it does serve as a place for you to meet people, which is why I think it helps so much with people who are experiencing like depression and going through things like divorce or something like that.
No doubt.
Where, you can meet new people, like-minded people that are usually going to be, fairly nice, decent people to be around.
Yeah.
The jiu-jitsu mat weeds out a lot of the people who are jerks.
For sure.
It'll surface and they'll either find their way out or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
or the mat enforcers,
or the mat enforcers will find them. It's a thing, and that's great that we have that.
Yeah.
You, especially like say you as a white belt or a blue belt, you know that there's a guy in your gym that's going to have your back. And if some guy comes in who's neck cranking people and trying to hurt people, that mat enforcer is going to step in and say, hey, that's not how we do things here. Mm-hmm. But he's usually going to say it by grinding his face into the mat.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, we have those dirty tools, and we can use them. But that's one thing I love about our gym is we don't,
Yeah.
We don't
Very
apply.
Rare. Very rare.
Yeah, you're grinding forearms into people's faces or putting knees on faces and being super explosive without any regard for your partner's health, right, and safety, which is a huge thing.
For sure.
We see injuries all the time, and me and Professor are always trying to, think how can we limit that while not stunting anybody's growth, right? And it's a hard balance to make.
What are some key points to mitigate the risk of injury?
That's a great one. Lately, and I think we've just recently instituted this, we talked about it on the trip up there, is I don't believe white belts should start from the feet. There's just too much risk for injury and there's too much lack of knowledge. You've seen it. I'm sure you see it at comp, you see it in the open mats where neither person knows a takedown, but they're still fighting from their feet, and that's where injuries happen.
Yeah.
If I don't
You're
have
just doing whatever.
Yeah. And that's their goal. I'm just going to do whatever I can to get you down, and a lot of time that ends in injury.
Yeah.
So I think that white belts should start on the ground. One person sitting, one person kneeling, and that'll reduce a great amount of injury. And then a hard part for a lot of people is the ego tap. I tell my son all the time, because he's young, he's 13, my youngest son, and he's a yellow belt in jiu-jitsu. He's been training with me since he was 3 years old. The only one of my kids who continues to train, right? But he's super flexible and he's super headstrong. So people will get him in a kimura and he'll just let it go all the way back. And I got to tell him, like, man, I know you're young, I know you're flexible, but what I always tell people is if you're caught in a submission and you don't know how to escape, then tap and maybe ask them what you should have done instead of trying to get out any way can or any way how, because usually in those positions, the instinctual thing to do is the wrong thing.
Yeah.
A lot of times in jiu-jitsu, the things that we do aren't necessarily the things that are the first things that come to mind or natural is what it should be.
Yeah. I mean, one of my worst injuries was because of that. It was my first blue belt tournament, first IBJJF tournament as well. And I got matched up in my first round against a guy that got his purple belt 2 weeks later.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it was a definite skill gap.
Yeah.
So we got in there. I got the takedown, but he was attacking my arm from closed guard immediately. And the rest of the time, I was just trying to get my arm back. I never got it back. He ended up with like an inverted arm bar, belly down. And my adrenaline was pumping. I didn't feel pain. So I was like, maybe I can get out of here. I didn't get out, and I just heard my elbow pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
And I'm still dealing with the damages today, and it's been over 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So tap out, guys.
Yeah, tap.
If you don't know what you're doing and you get, especially a joint lock, like a choke, you can risk passing out. Mm-hmm. It's not nearly as bad as a joint.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not going to cause as much harm if you take a nap as opposed to if you get, your shoulder or your elbow popped.
Yeah.
I was the same way. I think my first big jiu-jitsu injury was competition at white belt. I got kimura'd, and for 6 months after, I couldn't lift my arm like this. And to this day, both of my shoulders are messed up just from repeated use, because after you injure it, it's going to heal, but there's still scarring there. And even sometimes just drilling kimuras will hurt my shoulders.
Yeah.
So,
not to mention you've been compensating for so long, so then you start developing these bad techniques because your body's trying to baby that one spot. So I started to realize when people were going for my armbar, I would hold it tight and try to not give it up. And I realized that strain was causing me inflammation and tightness.
Yep.
Just trying to hold it, not getting it extended, just holding it even like right here. So now when people snatch my arm, I let them take it, and I'll try to escape. If I don't escape that first 2 seconds, I'm tapping right away.
Yep.
Because just resisting it was causing me some pain.
That's a very good, it's great that you noticed that, right? Because it took me years to find that out. And now I'll feel like inflammation in my shoulder blade, and I'll know, okay, you know what, I'm going to take it light today, because I know even just going light might aggravate it more, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not just the joint anymore. Now it's spread to the neck or down, like you said, down the side to the back. Man, it's
all connected.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The human body is a marvelous thing, you know, and if you look, when you look at it, the way it's connected, jiu-jitsu really twists and turns it. And it's one of the reasons why I think yoga is so important. Some kind of stretching routine, some kind of stretch after training, stretch before training. It won't hurt you to get more flexible, and it might save you some sleepless nights, because, my shoulders are my biggest issues, shoulders and knees, 9 years in. My knees are very injured. I've been heel hooked and knee barred on both legs. I've been kimura'd on both arms, countless times. So, what causes me the most sleepless nights is shoulder inflammation, leading to neck pain and stuff like that.
I think stretching is so underrated. So underrated. I mean, a lot of people are like, stretching, I don't need that. But dude, stretching has changed the game for me. Because of this injury, I haven't been able to lift heavy for 2 years because you use your elbow on almost all these lifts. And so what have I done? I changed my lifting strategy to focusing on lightweight and stretching. Making lightweight feel heavy is one thing, but just stretching like yoga or maybe with some resistance bands. And like you said, it improves your flexibility and your mobility, which in turn is going to improve your athleticism and help you resist future injuries. Because if you got a stiff shoulder, it's going to get hurt a lot quicker than if you got a flexible shoulder. Look at your son. He can let it twist all the way back because he's got that flexibility. So yeah, stretching is so underrated. I also think it improves your speed, how high you can jump, and eventually how much you can lift as well. So stretching, guys, don't skip it.
Yep. Yeah, the lifting part is important too, because let's say you pack on all this muscle, but at the foundation you don't have any flexibility or stability in the way that your muscles are comprised.
Yes.
And now, so you are building strength, but that foundation is very rocky, right? But if you stretch the muscle out and if you allow it to gain mobility, then when you put on muscle, now it's going to have a solid foundation under it.
Totally.
But it's hard.
When you're focusing on these isolation lifts, like you're really good at that one moment. You're really good at that one movement versus how is this going to help me in jiu-jitsu? Is this really a functional movement?
Right.
Where it's going to help me in a live roll or a self-defense situation, or is my bench press really good?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And let's think about that. Let's think about the angle, because I see that this is the gym rat, right? The gym rat type. When they come in and they've got a great bench press, but you don't necessarily push people off of you at that angle. And if you do, you get arm bars. Right. So what's the angle that we push? The angle is more like this, and it's more of a tricep movement.
Yep.
Right. So I don't push people off of me like this. I could bench press, as much as I want. But if I've got somebody who knows how to hold on to my hips, glue onto me, and now I'm doing this movement here, right? And so this would be a little bit more advantageous for an escape.
Absolutely.
Right? I preach all the time, if we're talking about weightlifting, leg curls.
You told me and Alex the other day.
I say it all the time, man. Leg curls. Don't skip leg day, but don't skip leg curls. Because, and you saw it, like I'll do the demo where I'll get into the arm bar and I'll pinch my knees and I'll curl my legs and I'll let go of my hands and I'll tell them, pull your arm out. And they can't, right? But you're not going to do that without a good leg curl. And so it's so important in the arm bar, in the triangle choke, to have that particular movement. So there are some lifts that translate directly to jiu-jitsu, and there are some that maybe don't translate as well.
What are some other lifts?
Oh man, grip, right?
Ooh.
Grip is so underestimated.
Oh yeah.
So I would rather rock climb than bench press, right?
Yeah.
I talked about Cam, who is Tom's black belt. He's a world champion, 140 pounds. The guy rock climbs all the time. And I'm telling you, I felt it, because when he held on to me, I couldn't move. And
sticky grips.
And he's not just squeezing with his arms, right? Because rock climbing, you have to engage your entire body. So it felt like a spider was holding on to me, because it wasn't just his left arm and in his right arm. It was his head, and it was his left leg, and it was his right leg, and there was chest connection. There was no space. Yeah. None at all. I was just sitting there like, what do I do? And then he triangled me 3 times in the roll. Yeah. So there, maybe I know that wasn't a lift, maybe more of an activity, right? Yoga, rock climbing are activities that I think will translate directly to jiu-jitsu.
Grip.
That grip, farmer's carries is a favorite of mine. Love farmer's carries. Pull-ups, strengthen the back. Rows is a favorite of mine.
Okay.
So anytime we're choking somebody, a lot of people, especially beginners, will get that rear naked choke, and I'm trying to pull your head off of your shoulders is what they're trying to do, or they're arching their back and they're really trying to like extend and stretch the person out, but that's improper for a choke. What I use in so many of the chokes is my back, like a row, right? Because when I get that rear naked choke, I shrug my shoulders and I pinch my shoulder blades, and now there's no space here, and I'm going to choke you out. If we think about the bow and arrow, what are we doing? We're rowing.
Or even just like side control or guard when you're trying to pull them in. That's a serious row.
Yeah. We met Kyotera, and Kyotera doesn't look like he lifts a lot, right? But the guy's back was huge, right? He didn't have big pecs, but his back was massive. And think about, all we're doing in jiu-jitsu is holding on to people, right? We're holding on. So if you're not working your back, then you're missing out a lot as far as, how it's going to transfer to the mat.
How about your neck?
Neck is extremely important. I do neck bridges, and I start my students early. I have 4-year-old kids neck bridging, because I believe it's important to build that movement early when you're young, as opposed to trying to do it like I did in my 30s, right? Where I have more risk of injury. So I teach neck bridging. That's one of the first thing I teach my little kid students. So we just started a 4 to 6 year old program. Some of them can come in at 3 if they can last the 30-minute class, right? Can pay attention for 30 minutes. But it's amazing to see what I've got those kids doing,
rolling around on their head.
Man, we start with line movement, and we do stuff like bear crawls, seated shrimps, forward rolls, backward rolls, stuff like that. But then I have them neck bridge, right? And we build that really early. I have them doing shots, and then I mainly work wrestling style with my 4 to 6 year olds. I love jiu-jitsu, but I believe that it's important to cultivate a top game before a bottom game. I just believe that that's going to help you progress a little better. If you start jiu-jitsu by thinking, oh, I do this on my back, then it's a little bit of a disservice to the art, because you want to be on top, right?
Especially in self-defense scenarios.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Don't want to pull guard on the street.
No, it's and then now that like stuff like combat jiu-jitsu is out and you see somebody in De La Riva and they're just getting pounded from the top in De La Riva, you can understand that. But yeah, so with my kids, I teach them wrestling fundamentals from 4 to 6 years old. And then when they go to the 7 to 11-year-old class is when we introduce jiu-jitsu fundamentals.
Nice.
Right? So by that time, once they're 12 years old, they should have a really great understanding of how to grapple both on top and on bottom.
I do want to dive into the kids, but before, should we finish the archetypes? I don't know if we got them all.
No, we didn't get them all. Let's see. Which ones are we missing? We caught the gym rat. We caught the
seeker.
The seeker.
Strategist.
Yep, the strategist. There is an escape artist is what I call it. And so I know I'd mentioned law enforcement, but the escape artist, I feel, is more like
the
doctors.
Criminals.
That's a good one. That's a cliche. Is you see the pothead and the cop, and they're both at the jiu-jitsu open mat. Thankfully, it's not a crime anymore in New Mexico. But the escape artist is like the first responders, the doctors, the nurses and lawyers, people who have highly stressful jobs. And we see a lot of those professionals. Yeah. So we see a lot of students, people that are going to college. And then once they get their degrees, they come back to jiu-jitsu, right? Because they've got a highly stressful job. We see a ton of doctors, lots of first responders and stuff like that. People who deal with high stress jobs, and they use the mat as their meditation, like you'd already mentioned.
For sure.
So the escape artist is another one. The competitor is one. Usually, that's usually like a subtype, right? What brought me in was recovery, but then I immediately gravitated towards competing, and I competed within a month of training as a white belt. Wow. Yeah. Drove to Long Beach, California. I had never been to California. Yeah. 4 or 5 weeks into training.
Wow.
I knew nothing but a Kimura and I knew the Kimura, and I knew like one move from half guard, maybe, but competition really helps keep somebody engaged. The competitor is usually the person who played sports in high school, likes to compete, maybe did intramurals in college, right? And I think we even mentioned this too in the last time. And, I think that was something that you went through, right? Yeah. And so
I needed something.
Yeah. So you're multiple types, right? What was it that brought you to jiu-jitsu? As far as, have I mentioned that type yet, or you think there's still one out there?
I think it has to be competitor.
The competitor.
Yeah. Because we mentioned it last time, but I've been playing sports since I was 4 years old. Everything: football, basketball, baseball, track. I was busy all year round, going to practice, playing games. And I had that drive, that competitive drive. I like to win. So college, did intramurals, so I still had my sports, boom, boom, boom. And then I graduated college, went out to my first job in Dallas, and then sports were gone. I was like, what the heck? Yeah. What do I do? This is not okay. I need something.
Right. And it may not seem like much to people who don't understand, but that's an entire outlet that you had that you no longer have. And you just added all this stress of another job, a new city. Yeah. Right. So jiu-jitsu can really help that person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
it helped in so many ways.
So you came in as the competitor, and now you maybe realize that you're a strategist also, right? Sure. You love the analyzing, and you're the role model, because now you got your kid in it. You're doing it alongside him. And that's really what the types is like. You can see yourself in just about every type, because we love the community too, right? Yep. We don't just stay just for the technique. We hang out, we talk to people, we make friends.
For sure.
The last type, we mentioned all of them. The last type is the MMA fan. I love the MMA fan. Heck yeah. So we sponsor Aggie MMA. They just got their Instagram up and running.
I saw that.
Yeah, this is a project that's been several years in the making. It's headed up by a gentleman up in Albuquerque, and he's the one who's trying to push MMA as a collegiate sport, or at least as a club, right? Where we can have competitions between the schools.
Whoa.
And they've been running already a a Lobo MMA club, right? So we finally got one of our students who's running the program, and he's very enthusiastic, very dedicated. So Aggie MMA is going to be great. But the guy who's running that is definitely the MMA fan. You know, they watch UFC, they know the fighters, they know the cards that are coming up, and that's why they're training. That's what brought them in. It's a little bit of what brought me in too, right?
Yeah.
I was mainly
Same
recovery,
here.
but you know, those UFC fights is why I knew about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So that's the last type, is the MMA fan. You know,
Gotcha.
I love them. They're always super motivated, excited. They train on their own. They work hard. You know, my advice for the MMA fan is just focus on fundamentals. You know, because sometimes
Not the flashy stuff.
Yeah, they get lost in the sauce sometimes. You know,
Yeah.
and you see the highlight knockout. You want to throw the question mark kick. You know, and the spinning stuff, and you want to do the flying arm bars and triangles, but focus on the fundamentals. You know, build a real solid base. I think MMA as a sport is only going to grow for not just people who are going to go pro, but just as we look at football and stuff like that now.
Yeah.
I've got more injuries from football than I do from grappling. I'm sure tons of impact on your body. You know,
Your head.
Yeah. So and the MMA fan, and we got Aggie MMA, so we're really happy to have that. We're sponsoring it, and we provide those students who want to come in and train a place to come in and train, and hopefully, we can start competing. Aggies and Lobos fight all the time anyways. Let's just sanction it and do it right.
Heck yeah. No, that's super exciting, because nowadays I don't really watch any sports. I used to watch a lot growing up, but I stopped watching football, basketball, baseball. Maybe I'll watch the Super Bowl. That's about it. But I will watch UFC.
Yeah.
I will watch UFC.
I'm the same way, man. I was a huge football fan. I love basketball. I watch baseball, but over the years, I've just watched those sports less and less. And now I don't keep up with UFC as deeply as I used to, but I'm still always aware of who's fighting. Watching, what I like now is watching the local guys coming up. So we've got a ton of people in the local scene who are working at the amateur and pro level to really make it to the big time. And I might be biased, but I think that the El Paso, Las Cruces, Juarez area here in the Southwest is just as good, if not will be better than what they were building in Albuquerque in the north, because Jackson Wink was huge for a long time, and they're still doing great work up there. But I see the work here on the ground level, the people that are putting in, these amateurs and these young pros that are putting in the work, and I've got high hopes for them, and I want to see a lot of the local guys make it to the big show.
That's exciting, man, because we need something out here in the Southwest.
Oh yeah.
And it's building, like you said.
Yeah. And we're fighters by nature. New Mexico, we love to argue. We love to fight. We're scrappy people. So why not give those kind of people an outlet that they can use it healthy,
Absolutely. Yeah. We mentioned it earlier, the kids program. I think it's incredible for the kids, just seeing how much it has changed my son's life. And I can see the other kids in class as well, the physical, mental, and spiritual development that they're going through. Jiu-Jitsu is a game changer. If you got kids out there, get them in Jiu-Jitsu. What does it mean for you helping out the kids on the mat?
Man, so this is a job that I didn't necessarily want, just kind of happened to be in my path. And it's been probably the most gratifying thing I've ever done, seeing the development of the kids. And now, not just because, when I started it, I only had my kids. I had 4 students, right? And so my kids trained with me, and I've learned over the years, and I've cultivated and really refined my kids' curriculum. And I think we have, an A-plus program, where kids come in, they get really good, really fast. I expect a lot of them, but these kids surprise me every day with what they're able to do.
It's crazy how fast they learn, huh?
They're brilliant. These kids are brilliant, and they can handle a lot. So
it kind of comes intuitively to them sometimes. I'm like, how did you know to do that? I can't even do that. What?
Yes. Yeah, and that's one thing we try to do is we try not to intellectualize things too much. I don't show them crazy details on the technique, I kind of just show them. It's like, hey, do this. And they're so good at copying what we do that they just get it right away. And they don't have to necessarily understand everything, right? But they can do the movement.
Yeah.
And my favorite part of kids class is, being there, watching the kids. They're going live, or we're doing some kind of drill or something, and I see like a line of people on the adults mats just watching us. And I'm like, yes, man, that's now I know we're doing something right.
Yeah.
Because from the sidelines, I hope it seems like we're really getting work done, because I would hate to waste people's time,
Oh yeah, for sure. And this past summer, you booked out, right?
Yeah.
Those mats were packed every single day.
Yeah, the summer was our best summer that we've ever had,
That's amazing.
And it was great to go up to Jersey and tell Tom, that we're jam packed, we're kind of growing out of the space, which is why we got that new space to kind of handle the overflow. And hopefully we have a whole big, new section of mats next time we talk, and we're able to get even more people, double it. I don't want 20 kids. I want 40 kids in there.
Yeah.
Because I believe that the work that we're doing is very special.
Very. It's the future generation.
Yes. Yeah.
And you start them young with this critical problem solving, or critical thinking and problem solving, and improving their athleticism, their control of their body. Because, man, a lot of these kids, they're coming in, they don't have the coordination. But when you're doing jiu-jitsu, you got to use full body. And you're getting that hand-eye coordination, that hand-feet coordination. You're bringing it all together and connecting your mind to it.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing, man. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's my favorite thing. And it dominates my life now. Most of my energy goes towards thinking about the kids class. How can we improve? How can I make one student particular better? Or, how do I help this kid? Because it's just been so gratifying. Lately, there's an ecological training, theme boost going on. Everybody's into eco training. So we've been adapting a little bit of that, but my favorite thing has been sequence training lately. And so I've got my kids doing 12 to 14 move sequences. Yeah, that are homegrown. I and Professor Spencer, we both, we developed these sequences. We feel like they fit our style. And I've even had adults tell me, like, there's no way you got those kids to do that. I'm like, yeah, I've got videos, man. They are running through, sequences that would be challenging for some adults.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how adaptive they are.
Can you break down one of the sequences?
Yeah, sure. Let's see. So I don't know if I kind of got the idea from Eddie Bravo, his 10th Planet stuff. That was a huge part of my early training, was sequence
I think
training.
We did one in the adults class not too long ago.
Yes, yeah. So, and it was probably the one that we'll talk about. So Eddie had the 10th Planet warm-ups. He still has them, right? And it's A through H, and there's 4 sequences in each letter. And so I'm taking that concept and we're applying it to particular positions. Mm-hmm. So right now we're in mount sequence. And I can go in, the kids do their warm-up, and then I tell them, mount 1, go. And they go. We drilled it for a week, and they know it now, which is wild. So the sequence is, you start in mount, bottom person knee to elbow escapes, okay? You get your underhook and build up to dogfight, right? Then you grab the knee, push them over, you get from dogfight to mount. You keep your chest low on the mount, and that way you hit the Americana. Boom. We hit our Americana, and then the bottom person escapes the Americana, which puts you into guard. Person who's now in bottom guard hits an arm bar. Opponent or partner stacks the arm bar. Then the bottom person spins through, rotates them, so now they're in the mounted arm bar. They finish the mounted arm bar, and then they throw the leg through the arms and pull the person up into a triangle choke. That's mount 1.
That's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is nuts that these kids are memorizing that sequence.
And the fact that they learned it in a week, less than a week, because we introduced it on Monday, we did it on Tuesday, Wednesday's wrestling, so we didn't do that. And by Thursday, some of those kids already had it down. And now they all have it down to where I can just go in and say, do this.
You know what I like about that is it's helping train their mind to start chaining attacks. Mm-hmm. because a lot of times we'll get stuck in a position and then it's like, okay, what do I do now? Oh, let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay, what now? What? And then let's do that. But now you're training that into their mind where it comes subconsciously.
Yes.
It just flows right into the next movement.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, 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 boom.
The feedback that I got on it was amazing from the adults and from the kids. Because like you said, we ran this in the adult class too, because I wanted to see, how do you guys handle it? How does it run through an adult brain? How does it run through a kid brain? And the feedback that I got from both ends was amazing. And I'm not knocking on positional training or eco training. I think you have to have a good, healthy mix of everything, right? I think there's times when ecological training is important and it'll teach a lot. And then I think there's times where you have to really dive into positional drilling, right?
Yeah.
But if we stick with only that, then, like you said, we're kind of just learning in bits. Mm-hmm. And I learned this move here, and then I learned this move here, but I have no way to connect them together.
Yep.
Right? And that's what sequence training does. It gives you a sequence laid out that's already going to flow. And it hopefully will build flow rolling a little bit easier in adults, because that's one of the white belt struggles is, being a spazzy white belt, not knowing how to flow. But if I teach you a Kimura for a week, and then I teach you, how to take somebody's back for a week, after 2 weeks, you've only got those 2 bits, right? But if we can focus less on the details, more on the flow, right? And then we can come back and fill in the gaps on the details. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what we've been doing, and I've gotten an amazing response. What it puts your mind through, having to think fast, critically, like you would in a competition. So it's been amazing, and I absolutely love it.
Very cool. What is ecological training? I saw the memes there for a while, but I never got a clear answer on what it was.
From what I understand, and I haven't researched it a whole bunch, but from what I understand, the ecological type training is really setting very strict parameters, and instead of going drill speed, you're going full speed, right?
Instead of going drill speed, you're going full speed.
So we do a type of training that we like to call focus live.
Is that like situationals?
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. So, and Tom kind of does this to warm up for his advanced class, is he'll put them in half guard and he'll say, fight for underhooks. And that's all we're doing. The bottom person is fighting for underhooks. The top person is fighting. If we get them, we just hold them and let the other person try to retain or regain. But you're going full speed. You're not going drill speed, right? And so that's, I think, is ecological example.
Okay.
Where I'm giving you a specific goal, and you're going to try to do it full speed.
With resistance.
Right. Which a lot of people like, because when you get new people in and you tell them to go slow, they're kind of like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Right? But if you just let them go ham, but you set those parameters and say,
keep them safe.
Yeah, to keep them safe, right? You arm drag him, he arm drags you, full speed, go. I think there's great place in that for training, and it can teach us a lot, especially beneficial for competitors.
Yeah.
But so I think you have to have that healthy mix, right? Yeah. Of positional training, drill speed, and then we like to do positional training live speed, right? So we call those focus lives, where we put you in guard and we say bottom person, sweep or sub, top person, pass. And that's it. If that happens, then you reset. And so we really enjoy that type of training. And I think you just have to have a good, healthy mix to get all the different types of people that are coming through.
No doubt. Yeah, because one of the problems with drilling, I know you need it, but it's a little different when there's resistance.
Yeah.
And a little different.
And I mentioned that last time, that one of my things is I tell people, when you're drilling, you're not supposed to give resistance, because it messes with the amount of reps that you're going to get. And that's why I love this ecological style, is because this concept allows us to give you a little bit of that sugar, right? Hey, I came in to go live. Let me go live. Cool. Well, let's make those parameters really narrow, and let's keep everybody safe.
Nice.
So I've been trying to mix all of them in, and I think it's been really beneficial. So our kids' class is growing. We're loving it. We added the 4 to 6 year old program, which is another thing, I wasn't crazy about, but I had a training partner when I was a blue belt. I had just opened the gym, and he was from a very prestigious school in Houston, trained with Draculino, who is, he's one of the big guys out there in Texas, one of the main guys for years. That guy was so instrumental. We only spent a year training together, But man, you never know how much you can impact somebody's life in such a short amount of time. You know, going back to that story about Mondo, where he just, tells Spencer, just in passing, hey, I believe in you. You should do this. To this guy, my friend who put me through, man, that was finishing school for me as far as jiu-jitsu. I learned so much from him about keeping myself safe, about, the amount of attention to pay to details and how to really like grapple and fight. So his biggest advice to me before he left was focus on the kids. Just focus on the kids. And I can still hear him in my head. You know what I mean? He's still in the back of my brain. Whenever things get tough, I can always go back to that, the faith that he put in me, the wisdom that he shared, advice. So yeah, he's like, focus on the kids. He's like, just focus on the kids. And after I got my black belt, I haven't seen him in years. We talk maybe, once a year or so. But I sent him a message, told him I got my black belt. He called me while I was on the plane, headed back, and it was awesome to hear from him. And he was overjoyed to, because when he came, I was a blue belt, he was a purple. And he was messing so many people up down here that we had to give him his brown belt, And then, he stayed here for a year. And when he went back, Draculino gave him his black belt.
Wow.
So he's been a black belt for several years already. But that was one of the highlights of receiving my black belt was definitely having that conversation with him. Professor Spencer and I shared a really good meal at the hotel back after I got my black belt. That was another really special part for me. So tons of great people along the way, man. The people you meet, and the impact that they have on you is crazy.
What's some crazy advice just from a dude that came in to train, focus on the kids?
Yeah. And look where it's gotten me. I'm so helpful. I'm so grateful for that advice because it really, I devoted all my energy. And even when it was hard, I would just hear that in the back of my head, focus on the kids. And now look, man, we've got 25 kids on the mat and they're all learning and they're all growing. I'm looking to get more involved with Buddies Over Bullies, which is Tom DeBlass's initiative. But for many years, I have been participating as a partner in that process.
What is it?
So
I've heard of it. I don't know the details.
So Tom started Buddies Over Bullies. He's always been big on bullying, and he started Buddies Over Bullies as an initiative to help kids who are getting bullied find places where they can train jiu-jitsu at either a discounted rate or free of charge. And so from the beginning of that initiative, I reserved a maximum of 10 spots on my kids roster for Buddies Over Bullies.
Wow.
Yeah. And right now we have 6. We have 6 kids who are training for free under Buddies Over Bullies. And I have countless stories of how these kids have been helped by this program. So if you know anybody, if there's any kids in the area who are experiencing bullying at school, get in contact with me, go to the Buddies Over Bullies website. You can find a gym in your area. If there's not, we're adding new partners all the time. And I'll share one. My favorite one has to be a young man that came to me, and his dad was not living in New Mexico, right? So his parents were separated. His dad was living, I think, out in Indiana. I may be wrong, but his dad reaches out to me because he saw Tom DeBlass, he knew about him, and he knew the work that Tom did. So he looks at Cruces. He said, "Hey, there's a Tom DeBlass affiliate in Cruces." And so I get this, heartfelt message of a father who is separated from his son, and his son is a brilliant kid and experiencing bullying in school. And so he tells me, can he come in? I did some private lessons with him, and he came in, started taking class, and immediately the bullying thing stopped, right? Almost immediately. We did some training. He didn't even have to fight anybody. Kids just saw that he was walking around with more confidence. Wow. And they stopped picking on him, right? Because what do bullies do? They pick on the weak kids, right? Mm-hmm. The kids that they don't think are going to defend themselves. Yep. And when they see somebody that has that confidence, they are going to veer off and try to pick somebody else, yep. Right? Mm-hmm. So that young man trained with me for quite a while. We continued to do private lessons. He continued to grow and evolve. And then It was, where was it? We were coming back from Vegas from watching ADCC, and I get this message when we're passing through Arizona, and he says, "Hey, I just want you to know that my son's back with me now. He is excelling in school. He has a girlfriend. He's got tons of confidence," and just giving this huge thank you for the work that we put in with him, because it changed his life while he was here in Cruces.
Wow.
And until he was able to get back to, to be with his dad.
Wow.
And I only ever met the man once. He came down once. I met him, but we communicated a lot through text message. And he has to be my favorite Buddies Over Bullies story, because it changed his life,
That's so powerful.
Yeah, it is my favorite.
Man. Yeah, I got bullied a lot in middle school. And that was one of the reasons I wanted my son to be in jiu-jitsu, just to know how to defend himself. And hopefully it never comes to that. Like you said, the confidence, being able to know that you can defend yourself, it's a game changer. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that. How else does jiu-jitsu prevent bullying?
Oh, man. Confidence is a big one, and it ties into leadership. When you become more confident, you don't just stand up for yourself, you stand up for other people, right? And now this has a ripple effect within the school, within the community. So that's the biggest thing is, a lot of times we're put into these stressful situations and we're going to default to whatever we know, however we defend themselves. I've seen kids come in and they get put in side control and they start to scratch and bite and like, oh, what's going on here? But this is all the kid knows, right? And then in 3 months, we teach them how to escape the side control. We teach them how to grapple a little bit. And a lot of those behaviors disappear, right? And it may not just be physical. It may be that they act out by maybe talking down to other kids or being condescending or, picking. It turns them into a bully themselves, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, if you can't beat them, join them. But that's the wrong mentality. We teach those kids how to defend themselves, and now they're confident. They don't need to pick on other kids, right?
Yeah.
Handling anxiety. We talked about problem-solving skills. The list goes on and on. For a kid, like you said, it is essential. Put your kid in martial arts, but I would highly recommend jiu-jitsu because of the changes that I've seen make in people's lives.
You heard it here, guys. Put your kids in jiu-jitsu. Yeah, man. I love it. I love seeing the impact, the impact that Zia has on the community, because I know all these kids are going to be in much better shape than when they first showed up.
Oh, yeah.
So kudos to you guys, man.
Oh, thank you, man. We enjoy the work. It's good work, and I'm not saying we're the only ones that do it. I'm encouraging everybody. Like I said, the ripple effect. I hope that everybody starts reaching out, helping these kids, help them find healthy outlets. And maybe it's not jiu-jitsu. Maybe it's basketball. Maybe it's football. But help them find something that isn't video games to direct and deal with some of that stuff.
Yes. Beautiful. You've been doing a lot of yoga recently.
Yeah, man. You've had some good yoga guests on your space too, man.
Oh, yeah,
I love the platform that you're giving for yoga.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no. They have been some of my favorite guests. Just the very first episode was Izzy, a yoga instructor, and just the other people that I've met through the yoga network, man, some brilliant people. Dr. Jana Williams. Yep. She is one of a kind. That was a great episode. She's one of a kind. I don't know any other doctor like her, especially in this area. I mean, I'm sure there's some other places, but she's one of one. Yeah. And especially in a time right now where we're seeing, people are starting to wake up to the big pharma and all the influence in our medical field, that maybe our doctors aren't. I'm not saying doctors don't have the right intentions, because a lot of times the doctors do. They're going out there to help people. But what about their training? Yeah. Yeah. Where are those influences coming from? Who's controlling that? So Dr. Jana is one of the few that is starting to look and have an outside perspective and say, hey, maybe what we're being taught isn't the right thing. Mm-hmm. Very powerful. If you guys haven't seen that episode, check it out. Dr. Jana Williams. Here recently I had Margot Sorum on, and wow, talk about understanding the connections of the body. she's on another level, especially when it comes to feet.
I know, that was such an interesting episode, man.
Dude.
And I'm all about, like, my wife loves astrology and stuff like that. And she's like, you're a Pisces. Pisces rules the feet. But man, that was such an eye-opening episode.
Dude, yeah. She is incredible. So you ever want to work with her, let me know. Can put you in contact. But
Yeah.
the yoga community, I love it. It's mind, body, and spirit intertwined. So what got you deeper into yoga recently?
Oh man, so it's a funny story. Simulation theory got me into
What?
What? Simulation theory got me into yoga. Oh my
so
gosh.
random. I was not expecting that.
The thing that first got me really looking at this type of holistic, outlook and Eastern philosophy was the cartoon Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Okay.
Right? Have you ever seen it?
I know of it, but I haven't seen the actual.
I'd highly recommend it. Watch it with Luke.
Really?
And I think you guys would enjoy it. It's a very funny, engaging cartoon for kids. But there's an episode where he meets the guru. And they pretty much, in a kid's cartoon, break down the chakra system as good as I've ever seen it being broken down for a kid. And that first got me into chakras. And so that kind of started it. When I met Professor Spencer, he was deep into yoga. So he was doing a bunch of it. That kind of got me a little bit more into it. And like I'd mentioned on the last podcast, during that summer before we opened the gym, we had shared a lot of material, books and philosophies and stuff like that. One of the books was My Big Toe.
My Big Toe.
My Big Toe.
Interesting.
It's a pretty big book and it's hard to read. Okay. But he had loaned me that book and I kept it for a long time. And I think only got like a third of the way through it. The book was like this. It was massive. But so My Big Toe is written by a physicist who started experiencing out-of-body experiences, right? And I don't know if you've ever heard of Robert Monroe and his book, Journeys Out of Body.
No.
But it's a pretty famous book. I can't remember what decade. If I had to guess, I would say like 70s. But Bob Monroe, he just started astral projecting. This is what he claims in his book. And he didn't know what was happening to him. So Thomas Campbell, who wrote My Big Toe, was through college had learned to meditate to help him. He said it helped him at his job. He could solve equations and problems a little bit faster when he had meditated. And so he was familiar with the practice and then read the book and was able to meet Robert Monroe and actually helped him develop a like a lab where he could test a lot of these theories, remote viewing, astral projection, stuff like that. And so they worked together for a long time. He taught him how to do it, right? And My Big Toe is kind of his culmination of everything that he's experienced, what he said he's experienced out of body.
Wow.
Right? And so it ends up being, a book about simulation and reality as a simulation. I was vastly intrigued, and I finally finished the book. It took me a couple years to finish it, but I got the audiobook, and I was able to power through. And after I finished that audiobook, it had to have been early last year, and I started to see a lot of similarities with things that were taught in yoga philosophy. I was like, okay, well, he's saying this, the yoga philosophy is saying this. I need to dive deeper, right? I need to check this out a little bit more. So simulation theory still occupies a lot of my brain time, especially my downtime. But I immediately knew who I had to reach out to. I reached out to Saharu, who is an amazing yoga teacher here. And at the time she didn't have a teacher training, but I put it out there and I was like, hey, if you get one together, keep me in mind. And so this year I started my Kundalini yoga teacher training, and I should be, God willing, certified and complete my training next month.
Wow. So
that's another huge accomplishment for me. It's something that I've tried to do in the past and never finished. And it's really horrible when you try and you fail at something, but yoga was that tough for me. I tried twice to take a yoga teacher training and did not complete it. So this was third time. Thankfully, third time's a charm. And Saharu's a wonderful, yoga instructor, teacher, guru, so spiritual, so wise, and just loves to learn and share. So getting a certification from her really holds a lot in my heart. I could get it from a lot of places, but being able to be a student to hers means a lot to me.
Wow.
And so, my wife did the training with me also. I'm really pushing her because she's a better yogi as far as the postures go than I am. She's great at the postures, and that's really where I struggle. But a lot of my study has been on breath control, pranayama, and meditation. And it's been helping me immensely.
Wow.
Yeah.
How so?
Man, so pranayama is very hard. If you've ever done like Wim Hof or something like that, right? But the clarity that you get from that after an exercise is just so valuable. And it can take the place of stuff like caffeine and different stimulants that we use to kind of stay alert and stay awake. We've got oxygen all around us. We just need to use it. Just breathe deeper, and you get just so much mental clarity. And then the meditation really allows me to still the mind and kind of feel where I should be going, what I should be doing with my time and my energy. Receive downloads and transmissions from higher realms if I'm not getting too crazy. But I also think one of the reasons I was led to this yoga certification was to experience the Bhagavad Gita, which I had never read before. And part of the teacher training was to do pick a 40-day goal. And you have to do it every day, no breaks. If you miss, you have to start over. And so I did a 40-day meditation on the Bhagavad Gita, 15 minutes a day for 40 days. And I haven't stopped listening to it yet. I read it or listen to it every single day. It's given me a great compass for how to navigate life. And I never knew. I had known of it as a work, and I knew it was a religious or spiritual text and philosophical text. But man, I had never understood the gravity of the wisdom that's in that book. 18 chapters. It's an epic poem.
Whoa.
So similar to the Odyssey or the Iliad, right, which we're very familiar with in the West, right? It's an epic poem and 18 chapters and just so much knowledge dropped.
What is it called?
The Bhagavad Gita.
And what are some of the most powerful insights that you've downloaded so far?
Dude, I'm still like going through all kinds of stuff. So it's a conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. Okay. I don't know if you know Krishna, the Hindu deity. He's the blue guy that you usually see like in a chariot or something. Or he'll open his mouth and you can see the cosmos in his mouth. These are like Hindu myths. But it comes from an epic poem that's actually the largest epic poem in the world. The Mahabharata is the longest epic poem that we know of. Longer than the Iliad, longer than Dante's Inferno, all that stuff. And the Bhagavad Gita is a small part of that poem. It's 18 chapters that is part of that body of work.
Okay.
But the text itself is a conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. Arjuna is a warrior. He's fighting a civil war against his uncles and his cousins, right? And they're fighting over control of the kingdom. And he's in the middle of the battlefield, and literally right before the battle starts, they're sounding their horns and the battle's about to begin, and he parks his chariot in the middle of the battlefield and throws his bow down. And he's like, I can't do it. I'm not going to fight. And literally has like a crisis, an emotional and, mental breakdown about having to kill his cousins, his teachers, the people that he grew up with. And that's the setting. But what happens in the preceding or in the next 17 chapters is Krishna explaining yogic philosophy as far as the nature of reality, our purpose in life, and how to accomplish that. And like I said, it hits very close to simulation theory, things that I've read, with my big toe, but in a beautiful, poetic way. And so like one of the main messages you'll see quoted all the time is you have the right to your action, but not the fruits of your action.
You have the right to your action, but not the fruits of your action.
Or you can change action to work. So you have the right to your work, but not the fruits of your work.
Interesting.
A big theme in the book is that what causes us a lot of problems is the attachment to the outcomes of the things that we're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Versus embracing the journey.
Yeah. And not worrying about the outcome. Right? And so like when I went up to New Jersey, that was a huge part of it is I'm going up there and I'm not going to think about getting my black belt. It's not, I don't care how the trip goes. I'm just happy to be up there.
Yeah.
Right? I used this example. It'll go better with sports fans, but let's say you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, right? And I'm not. We can both watch that football game. And if you're a diehard Cowboys fan and they lose, that is going to ruin your day, right?
Yeah.
So you're attached to the outcome of what's happening. Where the other guy may be a Eagles fan, or let's say he's a Bucks fan. He doesn't care what happens.
Yeah.
Right? He goes right along about his day. And so that's the lesson about being attached to the outcome of what we're doing. And I feel like I get this a lot in jiu-jitsu because I'm putting in the work, I'm putting in the energy and the time, but the kids are the ones who are going to reap these benefits. My students, even the adults, are the ones who get to reap the reward. And that's the fruit of the action, right? So I feel that this is a very spiritual path, that this is my dharma, this is my purpose in life, is to be a jiu-jitsu instructor and encourage and teach people and guide them. It's not going to help me necessarily, but it'll help somebody along their life, and that's really fulfillment.
That's powerful. Tying in the wisdom from that other culture and religion, how does that tie in with your Jewish faith?
It's been interesting,
Yeah.
to say the least, but I've always been very open spiritually. I've always been open to listening to other people's beliefs, hearing what they have to say. Like I mentioned, the hero with 1,000 faces really helped me. I mentioned that in the last podcast, that really helped me come to terms with other people's beliefs. Instead of like judging them, I can see, okay, I understand what you believe and like what that symbolizes, right?
Sure.
And then what maybe a similar symbolism might be in my faith. And so that helped me immensely. But I think it's only strengthened my faith in God. It's been beautiful because, going up there with Tom, we prayed over every meal, and I never felt a stronger sense of fellowship than when I was with all the gym owners at the summit and we were praying over every meal. And I have no problem, saying the name of Jesus, praying the name of Jesus, because I love Jesus and his words, the gospel. I've read them over and over again, and they still bring wisdom and insight into my life. I'm not getting hung up on the details, but I'm also able to pull a lot of wisdom from other cultures. And I think that that's helped me a lot.
That's powerful. So I think that is one of the negative aspects of religion is sometimes it becomes tribal.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're wrong because I'm right.
Yeah.
When in reality, there's probably some wisdom that's coming from both sides.
Yeah. And a lot of times they're just saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the point of the hero with 1,000 faces. It's no matter what face you put on the hero, we're all experiencing the same things. And the path to a good life is usually the same. Love your neighbor, serve other people, help other people. I mean, these are fundamental tenets of any religion. But when we get hung up on the details, then we start to argue, right? And learning and compassion really suffer.
Yeah. No doubt. No, that's really awesome that you're open and able to talk about it like that and see the good in multiple cultures and religions.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one of the things that I really respect about Tom as well, is he is very open about his faith and he is not afraid to speak up about it. Where in today's world, a lot of people, they have their faith, but they won't talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think now more than ever, we need to be vocal about it because we are in the midst of a spiritual battle.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't fight a spiritual battle with muscles.
No. Spiritual battles have to be fought with the spirit. And I believe you're right. We're coming to a time where it's going to be so important for the next generation to understand and have a spiritual foundation, because when our generation is gone, and like a lot of us have ties to faith and religion and spirituality from the older generation.
Yes.
Right? From our grandmas and our parents and the people who taught us. And if we fail to do that for the next generation, then we start to have this cascade of, people being less spiritual, more egotistical, more selfish, right? Because religion and spirituality teach us to be compassionate to everybody, right? And if we start to become egotistical and tribal, then society is going to break down.
Yeah.
And just because it's been like this forever doesn't mean it's always going to be like that.
Yeah. Hedonism.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And Tom, man, Jesus has done wonders in Tom's life, because I've known Tom before and after. And
Really?
I'm telling you, the change and the difference that being a follower of Jesus has made in his life is tremendous.
Wow.
He's a different man.
Wow. How so?
Well, if you follow any of his stuff, he used to be very graphic and very violent. And us being in the association, we got a lot of, we would hear the inside track of, the stuff he was going through, the things he was struggling with, the demons that he carried from years of abuse. And a lot of it's in his book, How You Bear It. If you guys want to check out Tom's book, it's great. And Jesus has just given him the freedom to live a life and a way to battle those demons, and the forgiveness. I can feel it when I'm around him. The weight that Jesus has taken off of his shoulders, the how he values that forgiveness.
Wow.
And it's huge, and which is why I love talking about Jesus. Like I said, I've studied him for a majority of my life, and I'm even just last Sunday I went to a Baptist church because I've got two students that are tremendous kids, come from a tremendous family. Their dad's a pastor here in town. So I went to go check him out, and man, is he an amazing preacher.
Really?
And so I went for that sermon on Sunday, and I was like, sign me up for the next 12 weeks, because they had just started a series on the book of Samuel, and I love the Old Testament, again, from a Jewish background. I've got a Catholic background and Jewish background, studying mainly those things. And, so when he said he was in the book of Samuel, I was like, all right, I'm in. Let's do it. I love studying. I don't care what it is, which is why I'm so surprised it took me so long to get to the Gita, because it's one of the major religious texts in the world. And it just wasn't the time, I guess. But yeah, so I've been going, and I'm probably going to continue to go to Christian church for a Baptist church for at least, the next few weeks to hear this man preach. I really love his style, and you can't ever go wrong. This is actually in the Gita. Any effort made on the spiritual path is never wasted. That's one of my favorites there. There's been so many, but that's a great one.
That is a good one. And you mentioned earlier on how we need to pass that on to our future generations. And I think that is so important, because now I truly believe our spirit is constantly under attack. Mm-hmm. And if we're not exercising our spirit intentionally and consciously, it's under attack. Yeah. Whether it's through the food or the media or internal battles. Yeah. So you have to nurture that side of your essence, your soul, or you're going to fall into the enemy's hands. And you're going to become a roamer, which is that's what he wants. He wants you to just roam and fall into his traps. Mm-hmm. And that's another one of the big things that has driven me on the food, is this healthy lifestyle. It's not just to look good and feel good. A lot of this food is designed to hold back your spirit. Mm-hmm. And that's something that's not talked about very often in the health and wellness field. Because there's chemicals that are deliberately being added into our food supply to make you addicted to the food. And not just that, there's additional chemicals in there that are causing brain fog, that are disconnecting you from your mind, disconnecting you from your spirit. And it needs to be talked about, because it's not just you're going and eating this food and it's bad for you. Okay, yes, but it's deliberately designed to be bad for you, to disconnect you from your spirit. And man, that is one of the biggest things driving me on this health and wellness journey and trying to spread this awareness, because each person that awakens to that, you can set them free. And of course, you're still going to go through your battles, your trials and tribulations, and the devil's going to tempt you, the enemy. Mm-hmm. But you're going to be more aware and more conscious of what you're experiencing and what's happening, because you don't have the brain fog that's coming from the food, or the addiction to the food that is overtaking your mind and your spirit. Yeah. So, man, it's a battle.
I wholeheartedly believe that intention shapes reality. And so if you're saying that, these foods are intentionally being created with that purpose in mind, then, everything is energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we consume this food, it becomes part of ourself. It becomes part of our energy.
Yes.
And if it's manipulated or if it's corrupted, we have to then work that out. And you have no idea how much layer upon layer of bad energy we're absorbing all the time through food, through media, through culture. It's extremely important.
Yes.
And I believe that. I think now is that tipping point for the next generation, where us as parents need to step up and we need to do our due diligence and teach the younger generation about the spiritual side of life, about the stuff that's non-physical, and prepare them for their journey and to continue that on.
Yes.
So for a long time, my gamer tag on Xbox and PlayStation was Jew of War, and it was actually my Instagram handle for a very long time. I got it years ago. I used to love the game God of War,
Okay.
right? I was studying Judaism, so I just kind of put the two together, right? And I had a lot of conviction over the last few years about that handle. And I know it doesn't mean a whole lot, but now I've got friends from the Middle East, and this concept is not as one-sided anymore. I'm starting to see the larger picture. And so I changed that, and it's Coach Mark now on Instagram, but even like on all the Xbox and PlayStation stuff that's getting flagged as inappropriate, right?
Yeah.
So I went through this whole thing where it's like, okay, I need to find a new gamer tag, a new identity, right? And I love Marvel Comics. I love the X-Men in particular, and what I landed on after a couple of sessions of talking to ChatGPT was Omega on Deck. Right. And I like it. It's going to take some getting used to, I think. Most of my friends know me as Jew of War on video games. So it's weird seeing the name. But I no longer have that kind of conviction. I was able to let that go. I didn't have an attachment to that name. That's not who I am. And now I think I've grown so much since then.
Wow.
But Omega on Deck has multiple layers of meaning for me. Omega is the last letter of the Greek alphabet. Mm-hmm. And to me, Omega on Deck means that the end is coming. It is on deck, as a baseball reference, right? Mm-hmm. And we really have to prepare ourselves for that. The way that technology is booming, the way that reality is shaping, it's going to be something big is going to change for the future generations.
Oh yeah.
And we need to be ready for it.
It's going to get weird. Real
Very
quick.
weird. Yeah.
With artificial intelligence, robots.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's maybe 20, 30 years out till we're going to have humanoid robots that might be considered citizens.
Yeah, exactly. And where do we draw that line of consciousness, and who is conscious? What is conscious? And if I could, I'll share something that's pretty weird. I guess I don't share this with most people, but
you're about to.
Yeah. From a simulation standpoint, right? If the reality is a simulation and there's multiple realities and universes and timelines going down, what I believe wrecks the simulation goes back to my study of the book of Genesis. If you remember the story of Adam and Eve in the garden, they don't get kicked out because they ate the tree of knowledge. Are you familiar with this?
Mm-hmm.
They got kicked out so that they wouldn't eat from the tree of life, if you go back and look at the text.
I'm not familiar with that. Can you break it down?
So there's two trees in the garden, right?
Okay.
The tree of knowledge and the tree of life. And God said, of these trees you shall not eat. So they eat the tree of knowledge. They're tempted by the serpent. They eat the tree of knowledge. And now God is having this conversation saying, now they know good and evil. Well, now we have to kick them out of the garden before they eat the tree of life and become like us. This is in the text. So this is how I interpret it, is that he didn't kick them out because they ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. He kicked them out so they wouldn't eat of the tree of life and become immortal, because that messes with the sim, right? And we're so close to immortality, like you said, maybe in 30 years, might be 50. but we're very close to people being able to prolong their life.
Yeah.
And if you don't die, there's a great quote by Charlie Chaplin in The Great Dictator. If you've never seen it, I love the movie. Charlie Chaplin is amazing, but he has this great monologue. And he says, as long as bad men die, liberty will never perish.
Dang.
So if we reach a time, right, where
that's a quote.
And The Great Dictator, it's black and white. It's Charlie Chaplin. It's actually he's spoofing Hitler, right? It's this. The concept of the movie is there's this Jewish soldier who like loses his memory and starts getting mistaken for Hitler. So that's why you see the little mustache, right? But it's a wonderful movie, and his monologue at the end, he quotes the Book of Luke, like it's amazing. I'll send you the monologue at the end, so if nothing else, watch that. But so long as men die, liberty will never perish. And
long as bad men, right?
I think I said bad, but I think I might be adding that.
Okay. Long as men die.
So long as men die, liberty will never perish. Now, if we reach a time where immortality is in our grasp, that tree of life, that tree of, because God is supposed to give us eternal life, right? Immortality.
Right.
By reaching and moving closer to God, we gain liberation. Mm-hmm. But if we try to achieve it ourselves and bad men don't die anymore, now we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because
no matter how bad Hitler was, he was still a man and he died. Imagine if he never died.
Yeah.
And I think that messes with the sim. Because the point of being here is to live, die, and learn the lesson. Mm-hmm. Right? And if we don't ever die, then we don't ever learn the lesson.
Yeah.
So it's a strange biblical interpretation that I haven't shared with a whole lot of people, and it's crazy that I chose this moment to do it. But
I didn't realize there was multiple trees.
There's two trees.
I might need to reread Genesis.
Yeah, I've done in-depth studies on different books in the Bible that fascinate me. Genesis is definitely one of them. But there were two trees in the garden for sure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then, of course, God didn't want them to go back into the garden. So he put an angel with a flaming sword in front and they barred it up. And now we're here in this reality, right? Working for everything we have, sweating and, and all that. But yeah, I'm not a biblical scholar. This is just my interpretation.
Yeah.
Take it with a grain of salt.
For sure.
But watch The Great Dictator monologue. It's a great one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went through a similar phase where I think I understand how your headspace is when it comes to being able to tap into these different religions, because I went through a phase where it was like, there's no good or bad religions. They're all good and bad. Mm-hmm. There's good and bad in each and every one of them. Mm-hmm. And the sum of the good is the side I want to be on. Now, what brought me back to Christ was I was like, hey, the enemy is clearly attacking this one religion more than the others. So that's why I was like, okay,
there's got to be something to it, right?
There's got to be something to it. So I'm gonna ride behind Jesus Christ. So, but I still can respect other cultures and religions and take wisdom from that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something we share. And something about that, I mean, like you said, you have to let go of the conviction, the identity that you have associated with that, and don't let it be part of your identity. I don't know, that's kind of conflicting. I'm sure some of my Christian friends will not agree with that statement. Like, you're supposed to be a Christian Catholic, mm-hmm. But I don't think it's good to get caught up with that becoming your identity, because then it puts you in this battle, this struggle of, am I this? Am I that? I'm not supposed to do this. I'm not supposed to do that. I don't know. I'm not doing the best job articulating myself here. But
it's very confusing and it's hard, especially like people usually go through a lot of soul searching in their 20s. I know I did. You're a young adult. You were taught this one thing, but now you have a broader view of the world, and you really have to search and say, what is truth?
Truth.
Exactly. That search for truth is so important to people. And once you have it, you can figure out the purpose of life, the meaning of life, right?
And it's hard to find that truth in a world full of lies and deception.
A lot of delusion, a lot of deception, and some people, they make it's really hard for them.
Yeah.
That's why we need good people, to support each other, to be compassionate, to help people through the tough times. And
love.
Yeah, that's what it all boils down to. And that's what's crazy about My Big Toe, is that here's a super technical scientist guy explaining simulation theory from a technical perspective. And do you know what the bottom line was? Love, compassion. That's what really blew my mind. It's like, okay, this guy's super technical, right? He's throwing down all these science terms. And then he says that the purpose of life is to love and be compassionate. Like, oh, wow, okay. Hey.
Wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, it was a curveball, you know? The way he explained it was lowering your entropy, okay? And it's that's going to take us into like thermodynamics and quantum physics and stuff like that, which I'm not an expert on, but I do some recreational reading. And but what it all boiled down to was God supports everything. And our job is to love one another and love God. The heart of the Christian message.
Wow.
I
think we can end on that
That's
one.
pretty good.
We already did all the typical closing questions that I normally ask people. So if you guys want to check those out, check the last episode. Where can people find you?
You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, email. Those are the best ways to get a hold of me. You can call the number, but man, I get so many spam calls these days that it's easier just to send me a message. But Zia Jiu-Jitsu on Instagram, Zia Martial Arts on Facebook, ziamartialarts.com for our website. Come and check out our classes. We've got, Aggie MMA. We've got our own MMA program that's growing, the kids program, the adults program. I know we didn't touch too much on what Professor Spencer does with his group, but I mean, you're part of that class, and his teaching is phenomenal. We feel like we're bringing something really special to this part of the country, which other people might not have access to, And I was having a conversation with a student this weekend, and he was saying, he really admires how we're doing that, how we're always improving. We're constantly trying to bring something to Cruces that wasn't previously here, where a lot of other places may be getting stagnant and not learning and not growing. But part of being a leader is continually being a student, continually putting yourself in that position to learn. Even Tom, we went up there and saw Tom. He continues to be a student. He continues to learn. You can't stop.
Powerful message right there. Great one to end on. I'll have the links for all those down below. You guys, jiu-jitsu's for everyone. Come in and train. I don't care how old you are. If you're a kid, you're an adult, or you're a senior citizen. It's a safe space for everyone, pushing each other, a beautiful community, everyone striving to be the best version of themselves. Thank you, Professor Mark. It's an honor to have you on again.
Thank you,
We'll see you in the next one.
Appreciate it.